Believe me, you're not helping me. You need to take your head out of Trump's ass and start doing your representation of us.
That's a lifelong Republican voter in a district Trump won by 30 points, talking to his own congressman. Stay with me, because what he says next is the part that should actually worry Washington. I'm Marcus Reed. I don't usually cover town halls. My focus is grand strategy, not constituent meetings. But this clip is relevant to something I do cover, the domestic political sustainability of American foreign economic policy. Rep. Mark Alford, Missouri's 4th District, Polk County Town Hall. A voter named Fred, former California firefighter, multi-generational farm owner, Trump voter, stood up and delivered 5 minutes his congressman clearly wasn't prepared for.
In Polk County since '98, I was a firefighter in California. I saw what can happen when a state works together with its people. This state does not know how to do that. I inherited a century farm from my father because he was born, raised here. My great-great-grandfather helped open this university. I am pissed, and I'm pissed at you because I have emailed you because it's easier for me than to try to talk on the phone without profanity. I would appreciate you taking your father's U.S. Constitution book, read it, study it, make your own lines underneath it, and get Trump out of office. The man is a dictator. He knows nothing about what he talks about. I listened to him for about a half hour today, and I got sick at all the lies he brought up.
Set aside the dictator line for a second. That's rhetoric. And rhetoric isn't the data point here. The data point is who's saying it. This isn't a floating swing voter. This is a man who tells you unprompted that he served as a firefighter, that his family has worked this land since his great-great-grandfather helped settle the area, and that he voted for the man he's now calling a dictator. In political science terms, that's called defection from the base, and base defection is exactly the variable that determines whether a president can sustain an aggressive trade policy over multiple years, because tariffs only survive politically as long as the people absorbing the cost tolerate it.
Now, I'm about ready to lose my farm. Do you know why? I'm sure you don't know why.
Lose your what, sir?
Farm.
Farm?
Yeah.
Why is that, sir?
Because Missouri does not have wills. They have trust. They have legal zigzags. And a trust, most people don't know anything about. So I'm dealing with a state that's a crooked state, doesn't care about what farmers happen. The only reason why we have farmers today is because the federal government funds them. How much money of our tax money goes to farmers? Farmers work very hard, but they're funded by the federal government, not by selling groceries. That's what Foster Farms and all of those characters, that's where they get their money. The price of steaks, $20 a pound, because of big business. You want to straighten out the budget? Start taxing corporations and the wealthy, like we've been telling you. Do you think we're idiots? Do you think we don't pay taxes? Do you think that we don't have to make budgets? You talk about half-truths when I listen to you. You know nothing about taking care of children because you've always had a really good-paying job. You know nothing about what a working-class citizen does. Come down here.
Here's the mechanism worth understanding. Tariffs are, functionally, a foreign policy tool leveraged against trading partners. Pressure in negotiations, in this case, largely aimed at China and other exporters. But tariffs also raise input costs, for American producers who depend on imported fertilizer, machinery parts, and fuel, and they invite retaliatory tariffs that hit American agricultural exports directly. Farmers are structurally positioned at both ends of that squeeze, higher costs going in, shrinking export markets going out. Fred isn't describing an abstraction. He's describing the transmission mechanism by which a trade war conducted for geopolitical leverage abroad turns into a farm foreclosure at home.
Come down here and start trying to pay your medical insurance. Come down here and walk into Costco to try to feed your family, to feed your kid that's moved out, to feed your great-grandchildren. I had a very good job in California, and I'm able to feed my family, and it goes all the way to great-grandchildren. You're not helping me. Believe me, you're not helping me. You need to take your head out of Trump's ass and start doing your representation of us.
Thank you. Did you say your name's Fred?
Yeah.
Fred, thank you so much, and I appreciate your passion, your love for our country, and we'll be glad to work with you. I really want to have an open line of communications. You know, sometimes I'm even in my office and my staff doesn't really like this, but I answer the phone when I'm in the district and when I'm in D.C. If I have free time, I'm not in a committee meeting or on the House floor, I like to answer the phone because I like to hear from people like you, because an email does not capture the passion with which you presented your argumentation today, and I appreciate that. You're right, our farmers have not had a great deal. I do believe that the so-called subsidies or the safety nets that farmers receive are imperative to their survival. In order for a farmer to make a living these days, to plant a crop, they have to borrow the money to do that. And in order to borrow the money, and because of the high input costs for fuel and labor and other issues, fertilizer, they're having to borrow the money, and to get the money to buy the seed, the feed, the fuel, they have to have crop insurance. And the crop insurance is so expensive that the government steps in and helps them out with that. I think that is a worthy investment to make sure that we can eat as Americans and that we can help feed the world. And I will stand by that. And that's why we had these programs expanded in the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill, H.R. 1, and I will stand by that.
Notice what Alfred's answer actually concedes. He's not disputing that tariffs and trade policy are creating farm distress. He's pivoting straight to subsidies as the fix. That's a tell. When a member of Congress representing an agricultural district responds to tariff criticism with, "We've expanded the safety net," he's implicitly acknowledging that the underlying trade policy is creating a problem large enough to need a subsidy to offset. You don't need to subsidize farmers against a policy that's working for them.
You were talking about state issues. We have two state legislators here. Maybe they'd be willing to talk with you after that, after tonight. I'm not an expert on taxes, but especially that sounded like a state issue from what you were speaking of. So Brad or Chris would be willing, I think, to talk with you tonight. Did that answer your questions?
Are you going to take your nose out of his thing?
Okay. Look, let's have a show of hands here tonight. This ought to be fun. How many of you voted for Joe Biden? Okay. How many of you voted for Donald J. Trump? Okay. Probably a little more Biden than Trump, and that's fine. I voted for Trump. I'm not the best of friends with Trump. I've met him maybe 5 or 6 times. He's a totally different person in person than you would see on television. He's almost 80 years old. If you think I'm going to change Donald J. Trump, I have got. Say that again.
Quit letting him get by with unconstitutional items such as arming national law.
That show of hands moment, and Alfred's answer right after it, essentially, I can't change the president, is the most honest thing said in that entire room. It's an admission that a sitting member of Congress from the president's own party has no meaningful leverage over the administration's trade policy, even when his own district is absorbing the cost of it. Here's my assessment, and it's a structural one, not a partisan one. Grand strategy, whether it's tariff leverage against China, sanctions regimes, or any coercive economic tool, requires domestic political durability to actually work as leverage. If a trading partner believes the tariffs will collapse the moment the base that elected the president starts defecting in Trump plus 30 districts, the leverage weakens regardless of the tariff rate on paper. Fred, without using any of this language, is describing exactly that dynamic from the inside. A foreign policy tool that Missouri farmers won't tolerate past the next election cycle isn't durable leverage, it's a countdown clock. And clocks like that get noticed in Beijing long before they get noticed in Washington. Marcus Reed, The Reed Assessment. If this connected the dots for you, subscribe. The assessment behind the headline.